Hello and welcome. Good day, everyone. And I'm very glad today to have Antoine Carrière for the sixth episode that we're having in this year. And actually, it's the final episode of 2021 with Antoine. And even in our show, I believe that our Innovation Creed and Radio Coach, this episodes, you're the final guest in this year, Antoine. Thanks for being this this guest, this cherished guest, that we can have this lovely discussion about how to unpack the development plans for 2022. So before that, how are you, Antoine?
I'm doing well, thanks, Shanaf. Good to be back, and thank you for helping me help you close the year. And what a year it's been.
Yeah, what a year. Yeah, it's actually it's been 2021 was actually a very remarkable year. Yesterday I was watching Netflix Death to 2021. It's a real hilarious show.
I have
And
not seen it.
yeah, it's unusual. It really deserves,
It's definitely been quite the year, and continues to be the year. At least us in our region here in Ottawa, in Canada. So that's it's an interesting end to an interesting year. That's we'll leave it at that.
Yeah, same here. And actually, for me, it was a real transformative year. I believe that Muhammad Sharafuddin, who started this year, is totally different than going out of this year and actually starting 2022 with different, I mean, I wouldn't know me,
Well, I'm glad to hear that, and look forward to seeing what's upcoming.
Yeah, and thanks, Antoine, for actually having this commitment to show up today. And I know that it's a season's already holidays at your end, and I believe it's a very good opportunity to start unpacking, the learnings from 2021 and seeing what we need to do in 2022. So
Mm.
if this is a title that we want to tap around today, after talking about how managers turn from being people task managers into people managers. So what could be the development plans for, how can a manager approach the development plans for 2022, and what can we learn from 2021? Where do you want to start? So I'll leave you.
Well, I think for me, getting started is right off the bat is going. We've seen through 2021 that there's a shift in the workplace, there's a shift in demands, there's a shift in terms of how we're approaching. I think 2020 was very much an adaptive year in terms of just readjusting. 2021 was very much about, okay, like this is now commonplace, like this is kind of a new beat or a new way of working. And I think 2022 is about embracing that. And as we get ready, as we were talking about those shifts, a lot of the development plan has to come from our teams. We have to kind of know where do we, and I think the biggest part is, as leaders, as managers, as people who are working with teams, what we really need to do is be clear on what we want to achieve. And probably the biggest thing around, when we're talking about development plans, or where do we see the organization grow, is taking that step back and going, what do we want to our organization to look like at the end of the year? And that talks about what culture, what environment, what new the change in behavior or attitudes are we looking for. And once we're able to bring that to the table, that's when we can start having a different conversation, because now it's about working with our teams and saying, okay, how do I support you to be able to achieve this new result? right? How do I work with you so that we can do that? And oh, by the way, here's my plan. And I think leaders and managers often forget that it starts with us. It's not just about our teams changing, it's about us changing. Because if we don't change how we approach things, then how can we expect our teams to do the same thing? And
Yeah,
so anyway, I think the biggest part, Sharaf, I think when we're looking at going about getting ready for 2022 is about what do we want as a result? How is it clear? If we say, well, we want a better work environment, because
that's
and I'll be
very,
honest, right?
yeah.
Like that's what people will say. Well, we
Well,
want people to
they can
work
put some
better
balloons.
together,
They can put some air fresheners. They can open the windows.
right? Well,
They can change the colors. So,
right, and I
yeah,
appreciate your candor in the way of reacting, because often that's what happens. We go, well, we want to change the environment. Okay,
yeah,
teams, let's change the environment. And people are like, okay. People change their desks around and are like, well, that's not what we meant. Well, what did you mean?
yeah,
And I
uh,
think that's often the challenge that leaders have, is that they talk about generic results because they're maybe unsure. And so it's like saying, well, I'd like to travel for 2022. It's what I'd like to do. Great. You can. So for some people, traveling across the city is a big trip these days if you've been living virtually, right? Like,
yeah,
so, and somebody will go, well, no, actually, we wanted to travel across the country. That's different than just saying. So to give that example, that's what managers tend to do. They'll say, well, we want to travel for 2022.
mm,
And so you'll have some staff that'll go, great. Well, let's plan actually leaving our house, and we're going to plan on traveling across the city. There are others who are going to go, great, let's travel halfway around the world. And now you have teams working all over the place, and we don't get the results that we're looking for, and we wonder why.
yeah. I really love, how how you look at things in more specifics rather than being ambiguous about, what you want to achieve. And actually, I believe that there is a lot of space here for conversations, deep conversations, on what exactly needs to be done, in the organization to have it shaped into a better, the 2022 version, to be able to function in 2022 and come up with its desired growth and its desired outcomes. And I believe, that currently everybody is running everywhere just to finalize the 2021 results, collect the bills, and close the year. And I believe I didn't listen a lot, in about these conversations in the organizations that I'm visiting or the leaders that I'm meeting. Most of them are totally obsessed with results and very eminent, in the closures.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe they're, yani, I believe that the rituals here in the market, that they start looking for the development plans and start hearing what's in the market. They go marketing for tools, what's available, that like, you go there and as a developer, you just show them what you can do for their organization. And these conversations start in January and February, and then they start contracting by end of Q1. You start delivering in Q2, and then in Q4, and Q3 is almost it's the summer. And this is how ritualistic the development is taken. What's in the market, let's shop around, see what's in there. Yeah, I want this time management, I want this, leadership development, I want this, this is a very pretty good simulation. We want some executive coaching. Yeah, here we need some assessments. I don't, there is a concept behind that, and deep conversations, I feel that's missed out totally. And in the development business, we sometimes we have to deliver what the client asks.
And definitely, I think, I mean, in any business, Sharaf, you and I in a coaching business have to deliver the coaching that our clients are looking for,
Yeah.
right? So just like a technical team need to deliver what they have engaged or what they're working on, the you know, and I think there's a nuance between what are we trying to achieve in terms of results for the organization, and what are we, and what does development, how is that going to help us?
Yeah.
We often talk about the right tools, but getting the right people on the right seat on the right bus, right? As Jim Collins would say in his book Good to Great, is very essential. And oftentimes, as we're looking at projects, it's about, well, where are my teams? Where are their strengths? How, with what's coming up and what I'm trying to achieve, do I have the right people on the team to be able to have a result that I'm trying to get? And if I don't, well, is this a development year? Is this a year, you know, do I take a year or two to rebuild the team and put it forward? So that I can have more success long term. Like there's a lot of different conversations that we need to be having. Unfortunately, to your point, Sharaf, a lot of people are going, okay, well, what am I just doing in Q1? I think that's very important, but what do I want at the end of the year, and what I want out in the next 5 years, and how am I building that to get there?
Yeah. What's really important is how to shift the conversations internally inside the organizations who are actually our clients and our partners into looking at it in a deep way instead of just firefighting, what they exactly need to actually just make the team okay, here, the standard offerings of learning and development industry, and seeing, we have now this tier of, a job, this needs some sort of development in 1, 2, 3, 4, and this tier needs 1, 2, 3, 4, and doing this as a ritualistic yearly, maintenance kind of react activity, into shifting it into a strategic, development plan, and where the organization wants to be and how it can make this happen through its resources. This shift in the conversation itself, I don't see a lot of effort that is happening here, because mostly there is a huge disconnect between the technical delivery people, those who are delivering operations, technical stuff and this, and the learning and development who are contracting with you, the HR partners, when it's a bigger organizations. And the leaders don't give much time talking about what exactly they need their people to actually to develop to.
Hmm. And I'd add, Sharaf, you know, I think there's that disconnect. I'd like to highlight, you know, that it's conversations, not just a sit down, right?
Mm,
It's got to be conversations that we're having.
mm,
And I think that the third part to that is this need to be. It can't just be technical. We have a tendency of going to get measurable, you know, knowledge and skills, which are extremely helpful. But there's also the human development side of things in terms of helping a person grow, and how they learn and how they approach, and their well-being and their contribution and their association or link to what we're doing. You can bring in the most technically savvy people, but if they're not working as a team, if they're not working together, if they're not collaborating, if they're not sharing, you know, you're still not going to get the fantastic results that you're trying to achieve.
mhm.
And I to me, I think that's something that we need to make sure that it's not just a one-time conversation, one-time discussion, that it's a continuous conversation that we need to be having.
Yeah.
And we can see that, especially in, older generations. So I'll talk older in terms of baby boomers, Gen Z, Gen X, and etc. Their development's still very important, but we're seeing in terms of Gen Z and millennials that it's becoming critical. How am I going to grow? How am I, going to be better at the end of the year? And that is, as much as we put so much emphasis on salary, growth in an organization, personal growth, both, that they're able to see, tangibly understand, is often worth more than a pay raise. Give me a couple of dollars an hour more versus giving me some personal development where I can see a transformation. There's this is what people are thriving for. Now, it is not what we're having as a conversation. And unfortunately, we're blinded, I would say, by the chase of money. But the flip side is there are people who are staying in organizations for a very long time with very little change in their pay.
Yeah, that's very
And
true.
oftentimes, when we see that, we have to take that step back and go, why? And I'm not talking about people who are just trying to hold on to a job. I'm talking about great performers. And
Yeah.
oftentimes it's because they have the right environment, the right culture, the right team, the right development opportunities. They are, as an individual, thriving within that. And so the human aspect of our businesses cannot be neglected. And yet, as managers, that is the hardest thing to quantify, to measure, to see. And so I will often say, to the managers and leaders that I work with, this is what's being neglected, because you can't. It's not as easy to measure. Somebody's change and becoming a little bit more positive at work, where they can smile more. Whoa, how do I measure that, Antoine? And that's the first question that I get. How do I measure that? How do I know, that this is having the long-term impact? The problem is that is what creates that kind of thrives and generates and instigates and initiates all of the other change.
Yeah, it's very true. And actually, I like how you voiced it out. Having the right culture, the right team, the right environment, the corresponding development plans, and growth plans, and actually the right leadership. So why leave? The right motivation. Alignment and motivation, alignment in what I really desire. It's totally matched with the I'm feeling home, secure, sustainability. And actually, this is something I believe great leaders do actually have such conversations to see, what kind of sustainability and people development they need, what kind of sustainable people development they need, and have individualized attention, and looking at their employees as not only partners in success, but also as their internal customers, and putting for them a special experience when it comes to their development plans.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I totally agree with that. Definitely. And
Yeah,
if I could even add, I think the leaders and managers have to start asking about, how do I make your work easier, not what have you delivered. The managers and the leader's job isn't to be the person who is doing the work. They are the people who are there to make sure that the work is easier to do, and they're giving it direction.
yeah,
The problem is that most leaders are so required to, there's most of them are understaffed. B, their metrics and their results are based on things that isn't based around people, but more about deliverables. And so the tendency, we've created an environment where if you have a manager who's focused on on their people and say, well, here's what I've been working on, they're like, well, what about your results? And they're like, well, yes, we have to show metrics, but the metrics part, right? You can measure, okay, well, I've reduced absenteeism, which means I have more people who are showing up. I can see that there's a greater dynamic within my team. So now conversations and information is flowing better. I can see that people are more excited about work. And so the time that they're there, they're more efficient. And those are all different areas to me that when we bring the individual, when we bring the human back into this conversation, then that's when we're seeing the greatest impacts and results. And for the leaders and managers who are open and wanting to hire the new generations, this has to be part of the conversation. We think that it's about, people go, well, it's about, work-life balance and the number of hours that you're at work. And they're talking about, the flexible and travel. Yes, that's kind of if you want, it's the Facebook, Instagram kind of lux life. Most people kind of think that that's what they're looking for, and they take the time to start looking. They're looking to be as happy at work as they are in life.
Yeah.
I'll say that again. They're looking to be as happy at work as they are in life. And pay is only one part of that. And yet, as companies, a lot of companies think that that's the only thing that they can offer to bring somebody in. Well, I have to offer greater salaries and I have to do this. Okay, so that to me, work-life balance is about being as involved and as committed at work as you are in your life.
Yeah.
So it's about if you're doing a lot of personal growth, well, what are you doing in workplace growth? If you're doing a lot of workplace growth, well, how are you doing that at home? It's about as being as intense and committed. To me, work-life balance is not about a balance in hours. It's about the same level of commitment and engagement and almost direction in both areas of our life. That really, you'll see the happiest people are usually the ones who have that.
Yeah.
Funny enough, the people who are usually what most people in society would call workaholics, ask them how happy they are at work, and chances are their levels are very, very, very high.
Yeah.
But they're also the people, when they show up at home, they shut down their phones because they're with their family. They're not going to take family calls during work, but they're also not going to take work calls when they're at home.
Yeah.
And so it's that balance. To me, it's about what are all the things that make you successful at work? Are you doing the same thing at home? And I can tell you that a lot of people that I coach, the answer is no.
Okay.
They're not available, right? And I think those are kind of the shifts. And as we're talking about developing, how are we bringing that to our development for the year? How is that part of, right, the conversation in terms of the development and the direction that we want to offer people?
Yeah. Okay, that's great.
Does that make sense?
Yes, it is. Yes,
right?
it does.
And I think that's kind of where we need to go in terms of conversation.
Yeah.
Is, okay, what do we want as a result? What are we looking for our teams? And now, how do we help each one who's around the table be able to do that, to contribute to that, to really bring that to the best of our. And I know the first thing that managers and leaders will say is, well, Antoine, I don't have time.
Yeah, yeah. They normally actually need to have this, somebody who is really taking care of the people, and so there should be a voice for the people, and actually it has to be strategically aligned with what the total value proposition of the organization, and this voice has to always be attended to. It has to be, it's like the voice of the money, it's like the voice of the finances of the organization, it's like the voice of the market, it's like the voice of the accounting, the marketing, the operations. There should be always like a strategic ally who is actually looking for this development task, and actually putting the be should be some attention and time in each organization and each manager, to look on how to make the best out of the development of the people that they have.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really enjoying this discussion with you, Antoine, and I believe that now we're coming to the end of the 30 minutes. We're having something like so. As we are coming, that these may be the final words before the end of 2021 on this channel. So, what would you like to maybe say, like, for your audience, by the end of 2021, or our audience here? What would you like to actually to bring as as a like a closure statement for 2021?
Hmm. Um, to me, I think is let's not forget to celebrate all of our successes. 2021 was another difficult year, and as we see, we're still in a pandemic world, and we're seeing new variants and new realities continue. And I think it's let's make sure that we take the time to say congratulations on everything that we've achieved and been able to maintain through all of this. And what do we want to try to achieve in 2022, and how do we bring the individuals back into the forefront of our conversation in terms of let's make sure that it's not just about technology or deliverables, but people are part of our conversation. And I welcome the fact that it's taken COVID to wake us up to the fact that we need to find ways to recognize and balance things, that it can't just be deliverables. Unfortunately, it had to come this way. I think now it's about how do we embrace it and take advantage of everything that we're doing. Because I really think that organizations, companies, individuals are going to come out even stronger as we start to navigate all of this. So that's how I'd like to wrap it. Let's look at what we've done well, what we've been able to maintain, and how do we learn and grow and build on this as we move forward. How about yourself? What would you like to conclude on?
Well, I wouldn't say articulated better than you have said. Actually, what I really 2021 was really a year where everybody was running around. Most of the people that I know were running around as headless chicken. Everybody's full of ambiguity, full of turning points, full of many. I'm really when you look at the world, there are lots of places that really had some environmental strikes and some severe changes and impacts that happen politically and environmentally. I'm really having this love that I want to spread along, the compassion towards everybody who has not have met this as a good year, for them, and actually I have a great understanding, and empathy to those who around the world who are still not able to celebrate, or not able to really live, were not able to live this year the way they were intended to, or they expected to. And when it came, that it was very celebrative in the beginning, after 2020, it was a really tough year for everyone. And then 2021, everybody was actually very optimistic to see different results. However, not everyone, had this upward turn. So I believe that we all have to celebrate that we are here already, in the here and now. We already are. Those who are listening to us already, this is a blessing that you gave this time and effort, and maybe you want to look to your people, you want to look to your leadership, you are developing yourself in a way, and you want to actually have some. So in a way, I just want to tell that it will pass. Everything will pass, and everything will actually turn to a better way when we look at it as an opportunity for us to grow, learn, and actually seek to just deliver the what we call it, serenity. While we're growing while we are growing together. It was a year full of growth opportunities, and I hope everyone is really looking at it. It's not only about the finances, not only about the business. It's about many things that change the being of who we are. So and it's something that we need to celebrate, that we are here and we can still do something about it.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So I believe that for 2022, if somebody wants a development plan from Antoine, how can they reach out for you? Yeah.
Well, usually the easiest way is just to book a session and let's start the conversation. But through either my website, email is there as well, and look forward to helping leaders either bring them best selves to their teams, or also helping them to do that the same thing. I think if we can continue to grow as leaders and show that growth, we will attract people who are willing to do the same thing. And the more we do that, the more we change our workplaces. So thank you for allowing me to be part of these conversations, Sharaf, throughout the year.
Thank you, Antoine. And actually reaching out for Antoine, you can reach Antoine through the website that you can find here and the email. And actually, I want to actually celebrate something with you, Antoine. Actually, the brand innovation creed actually will be next year. We're having some business development when it comes to actually attracting more organizations to work with us, and providing them more deep experiences that support them in transforming and developing, and actually starting from who they are and what they want to be, and putting on this the different learning modalities that can be tailored upon need. It's something like a boutique of designing learning experiences that are suited for the organizations. So this is how we are going to start in 2022. So we hope to collaborate around the world with leaders who can actually relate to this strategic learning partners. So
look forward to seeing it, and look forward to being able to support that journey.
Well, thank you. And I have Aziz Hawass here saying congratulations on everything we achieved. And actually, because Aziz is one of the partners in success during this year. So
oh, good. Yeah, fantastic.
Yeah, alhamdulillah. Okay, thanks. So thank you, Antoine, and wish everyone a beautiful end of year 2021, and a very delightful year 2022, and a happy new year for everyone. Thanks, Antoine, for being
a partner. See you next year.
Thank you. See you next year. Okay. Bye-bye.